Help me hit 7,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and share your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. Thank you. 2 months had passed since I last saw Lily, my ex-wife. The house felt different now. Quieter, lighter, like it had been holding its breath all this time. I had spent the weeks since the divorce rebuilding a sense of normalcy, little by little. Mornings weren't frantic anymore. I cooked breakfast without a silent argument hanging in the air. I watered the plants and actually listened to the small things around me, like the birds outside the kitchen window. It was peaceful in a way I hadn't realized I'd been missing. I remember the night she left. It wasn't dramatic, no shouting matches, no smashed plates. She just stood in the doorway, suitcase in hand, and whispered, "I can't do this anymore." That single, simple sentence had left a scar deeper than anything else. I had spent years trying to bridge the silence, to hold together something that had slowly eroded with every passing day. And now, with her gone, I was learning that life could exist without the constant tension. Then, one afternoon, I heard the knock. It was hesitant, almost shy, but my gut recognized that tone immediately. There she was, Lily, looking smaller than I remembered. Her hair tied in a loose bun, her eyes glistening with a mix of desperation and regret. "Eli," she said, my name rolling off her lips like it had been rehearsed 1,000 times. Can we start over?" I froze. Part of me wanted to slam the door and walk away forever. Another part, a smaller, quieter part, wanted to reach out, to feel that spark I hadn't realized I still remembered. But before I could even form a response, a sound from the bathroom made me tense. A voice, soft, mischievous, and unmistakably familiar, called out, "Actually, he already started." I turned, confusion washing over me. There, wrapped in a fluffy pink towel and dripping water, was Penelope, Lily's younger sister. Her grin was impossible to read. She stepped lightly into the hallway, hair still damp, and looked at me with a mixture of amusement and pride. "He started what?" I asked, though part of me already suspected. Penelope didn't answer immediately. Instead, she tilted her head, eyes sparkling. "You know," she said finally, "being happy again, moving on. You didn't wait for her to come back. You started living." It hit me like a splash of cold water. She was right. The past 2 months hadn't been a void. They had been a lesson. I had learned that life didn't pause for heartbreak, that the world kept moving, and the best thing I could do wasn't to wait for apologies or confessions. It was to reclaim my own joy. I stepped back, trying to process the bizarre collision of emotions. Relief, pride, and a hint of guilt tangled in my chest. There was a part of me that still felt tethered to Lily, but another part, the part that Penelope seemed to see clearly, was untethered, free. "You've changed," Penelope said, finally breaking the silence. Not in a way that makes her jealous or anything. It's just different, stronger. I nodded slowly. I think I had to. I had no choice but to figure out who I was without her. "And you," I added with a faint smile, "helped more than you know." Her laughter bubbled out, light and teasing, and suddenly the hallway felt warmer, more alive. It was strange, seeing her there like this, in the middle of my own life, yet somehow making it feel fuller. For 2 months I had been alone, and yet, somehow not lonely. I had been building a quiet happiness without even realizing it. And now, standing there, seeing Penelope's knowing grin, I understood that happiness had nothing to do with someone else's permission. And then, as if on cue, Lily stepped back, hesitant, her hands twisting at her sides. "Eli, please," she said, voice trembling. "I was wrong. I've realized everything. Let's try again." I looked at her, really looked, for the first time in weeks. The same spark was there, yes, but so were cracks I had learned to notice. The cracks that had been invisible when I was desperate to hold on to her. The cracks I had ignored in favor of hoping she'd change. The cracks that had led us here, to this awkward, tense reunion. And for the first time, I didn't feel the pull to fix things immediately. I didn't feel the need to beg or plead. I just felt clarity. 2 months had taught me a lesson I hadn't known I needed. Sometimes the person who returns isn't the person you need anymore. Sometimes you need the person you became while they were gone. I took a slow breath and stepped closer to Lily, not out of longing, but out of honesty. Lily, I've changed, I said quietly. And not just for you. For me. For the life I've been building while you were gone. I'm not the same person who waited silently for you to come back. Her eyes widened, and I could see the uncertainty creeping in. She had expected tears, maybe begging, perhaps even anger. Not calm clarity. Not the quiet strength that had settled over me in the last 2 months. Penelope, standing just behind me, tilted her head and smirked, clearly enjoying the moment. He's telling the truth, she said casually, as though her presence alone could emphasize the shift. You missed your chance. Don't take it personally. Lily swallowed hard, and for a moment, the woman I had once known seemed smaller, almost fragile. It was a strange feeling, seeing someone who once held so much control over your heart now reduced to hesitation. I had carried years of hurt, disappointment, and rejection, and I realized I no longer needed her permission to breathe, to live, or to be happy. I remembered the first week after she left. Nights had been long and empty. I'd sat on the porch with a mug of coffee in my hands, staring at the dark sky, and I had cried. Not loud sobs, just quiet, soul-deep sadness that clung to my chest. But slowly the tears subsided. I started running in the mornings. I went back to reading novels I'd neglected. I even tried cooking new recipes just for fun, not for anyone else. And in doing so, I discovered a piece of myself that had been buried under compromise and longing. Eli, please, Lily whispered again, her voice catching. I've made mistakes. I don't want to lose you forever. Let's start over. I shook my head gently. Starting over doesn't mean picking up where we left off, I said. Starting over means building from what we've learned. And what I've learned is that I deserve someone who shows me the same respect, care, and attention I give them. I can't go back to the way things were, not without risking the same heartache. Her lips trembled, but she said nothing. The weight of my words seemed to settle in the room like a heavy blanket. I could see her trying to reconcile the woman she had been with the man standing before her. A man who no longer needed to bend, plead, or wait. Penelope, sensing the shift, stepped closer and said softly, You see, Lily, people can't just come back and expect the world to pause. He's living, he's happy, and he's not waiting anymore. Her eyes met mine, a silent acknowledgement of the growth I had achieved on my own. I smiled faintly, feeling the calm that had eluded me for so long. You've had your time, I said to Lily, and I hope you find clarity too. But I've already started mine. And just like that, it was over. Not with anger, not with screaming, not with desperate pleading. It was over with clarity, dignity, and a quiet sense of liberation that I hadn't known I was capable of feeling. Later that evening, Penelope and I sat on the porch, watching the sky shift from gold to deep indigo. You know, she said casually, you didn't just survive this, you thrived. That's why she came back. She saw you weren't waiting for her, and that frightened her. I nodded, sipping the tea I had made earlier. It's funny, I said slowly, how losing someone can make you realize how much of yourself you had been ignoring. I spent so long hoping for her to see me, to want me, that I forgot I had to see myself first. Penelope grinned. Exactly. And now that you've done that, well, you're unstoppable. Trust me. A soft breeze rustled through the trees, carrying with it a sense of closure. The chapters of my life with Lily weren't erased, but they were rewritten in a way that no longer held me captive. I had my freedom, my strength, and an unexpected ally in Penelope, who, somehow, had become a symbol of the life I had begun to reclaim. I realized then that some endings aren't sad. They're clarifying. They teach you what you truly deserve. They show you that happiness isn't given. It's built, brick by brick, choice by choice, day by day. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt certain that no matter what happened next, I had already started the story I was meant to live. 2 months after the divorce, Lily had returned, begging, But it was too late. I had already begun living, and in that living, I found peace, joy, and a quiet strength that no apology could ever take away.